Get ready for your daily dose of marketing strategies and tactics from entrepreneurs with the guile and experience to help you find success in any marketing capacity. You're listening to Marketing School with your instructors, Neil Patel and Eric Su.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Marketing School. I'm your host, Eric Su.
And I'm Neil Patel.
And today we're going to talk about how to stay consistent with your content production. So if you've heard any of our past episodes, for us, it's all about compounding your content over time to see the results stack. That's just generally how content marketing works. So it's really important to stay consistent. And I can kick things off with what we do as a content team. So for us, it's really about having an editorial calendar and sticking with the editorial calendar. And that all starts with us coming up with ideas. We get together as a team, and then we'll start to schedule the ideas out, and we have specific roles for that. If you're a one-man shop, this is something that you just want to schedule out for yourself. Maybe you can just put it into a calendar each week and say, okay, for this time, I'm going to write, this piece of content, and for this day, it's going to be published. But you do want to make sure that you have some type of schedule to start to follow. And one tool that you can use for free if you're using WordPress is a plugin called Editorial Calendar. And then if you have a team, if you're willing to spend a little more money, you can use a tool called CoSchedule. This is what we swear by as a team, and it just makes things very easy to assign and follow and just keep track of.
Whether you're blogging or you're paying people to blog, or whether you've already started your blog or you're starting from scratch, always have a month's worth of content in your backlog before you keep going. So if you already have a blog and you're publishing consistently and you don't have a month's worth of content, either get to a month worth of content in your backlog or stop publishing. And I know that's not being consistent, but stop publishing in the short run until you have a month's worth, because you'll always run into hiccups or issues. It's a question of when. But when you have a backlog, you can then be consistent, because during Christmas, you're barely going to produce any content, if any at all. It doesn't mean you shouldn't write. Everyone's like, oh, it's low traffic days. Well, no one's really publishing during those times. So if you do publish, you'll get whatever eyeballs are online. So the thing that I like doing is having a month's worth at minimum backlog. And if you're paying writers, then just go and have them produce more content for a short run, so that way you can get the backlog. If you're writing yourself, what you need to do is figure out the time that you're most productive when it comes to writing, like you have the least amount of distractions. For me, it's really early mornings, like super early mornings, like 5, 5:30 or 6, or late nights. So like maybe, like 10 or 9 p.m. at night. And when I write then, because I have very little distractions, I'm able to get way more done and then start creating a backlog from there. The other thing that you want to do is when you're trying to create the backlog, make sure you pick out your titles in advance. The hardest part about writing isn't the actual writing part. Sure, it may be for you at the beginning, but eventually you'll learn how to write quickly. The hardest part, and it'll continue to be this, is the topic generation. So you can use tools like BuzzSumo.com to come up with topic ideas. Like you put in a keyword from your industry, spits out what worked, and you can take those topic ideas, like if one of them is 20 ways to double your SEO traffic, then create a post called 50 ways to double your SEO traffic, right? Just use the Brian Dean skyscraper technique. But if you come up with enough topics, then eventually when it comes to producing content, it'll be easy for you to just get started and write whenever you have time.
Great. And one point I touched upon that I want to go a little deeper on my first point is the concept of having editors. The editor is really going to make or break it when you're trying to really scale up your efforts. So for us, we have an editor. She will figure out, okay, well, on this date, we need to be publishing this content, and then we need to be reposting, and then we need to be doing like curating content on Fridays. She manages the whole thing and kind of wrangles all the writers together to make sure they're on the same page. So she makes things work in general. So you have your writers, and then you have your editor as well. The editor is somebody that's going to keep the process rolling. And for us right now, the struggle that we're going with is we're producing a lot more content. But what I noticed, in the last week, actually, I was sitting down with my partner, and it was like, wow, we have all this content, but we're actually backlogged by quite a bit. So there's a massive bottleneck right now. And in any type of business, you're always looking to, there's always going to be problems, but you're looking to, look for the bottlenecks and kind of, free them up. So what we noticed was that our editor was not communicating with us, that she actually was pretty backlogged. We just didn't know by how much. She told us a little bit, I guess, but we didn't know we're backlogged by actually or she was behind by a couple months actually. We're like, okay, we're producing way more content, but it's not showing up. We're still producing the same amount every single week. Like, what's going on? Something has to give. So the problem, we're trying to solve now is that we're trying to get more editorial help. So, one managing editor is good, but you're going to have other editors to help, kind of keep the process going. Because if you have let's say you have 10 writers and you have one editor, it's the editor can only do so much because there's only so much time in a week. So chances are you probably need to hire more editors to keep the content production flowing. And then also if you want to scale up, you need to bring in other editors as well.
One trick to assure that you can produce content consistently and not have issues of getting it out there is to adjust your length. So I remember on neilpatel.com, I wanted to produce more content and consistently. What I ended up doing was I went from 5,000 word blog posts to roughly 2,000 to 2,500 word blog posts, right? So I pretty much halved it in size. When doing that, I quickly learned that not only can I produce more content, but it was easier and faster to write the content. And I was able to do it on a regular basis. Well, when I was writing the 5,000 word blog post, I didn't have a month worth of backlog. It was like a chore for me to write 5,000 words. I'm like, this is exhausting. I don't know if I can keep doing it. I was getting burned out. And best of all, when I was looking at my SEO traffic, it went up faster. I assume that the more content you have, like longer in length, the better off you're going to be. Because someone did a study, I think it was like SERP IQ, and they said the average web page that ranks on page 1 of Google, at least in the US, is a bit more than 2,200 words. So I was like, let me go above and beyond and do 5,000 words. I'll probably beat everyone out and rank for more long tail keywords. And sure, my traffic was spiking, but eventually I wasn't getting much more of a benefit from writing 5,000 word blog posts versus 2,000. When I'm looking at my Google Analytics traffic, my most popular post from a search engine perspective, right, when I'm filtering based on organic traffic, is mainly the 2,000 word blog posts. Because I'm able to write so many different posts on different topics at a quicker pace, pretty much double, that I have more chances of ranking for different key phrases or topics.
And speaking of which, this actually leads me to another thought. When you're producing all this content, let's say, for example, Neil has a lot of stuff going on with Quicksprout and neilpatel.com. Because you have so much stuff going on, let's say you have a 5,000 word post or a 2,000 word post, there's a lot of bullets and subheaders in there that you can actually make into separate blog posts. So don't forget about the concept of repurposing, which is kind of what we do now with the single grain stuff, right? We're repurposing content. In some cases, we're going back and, just chopping things up. If you go to Google and you just type in content repurposing framework, you should be able to find something out there that will give you the framework on how you can go about repurposing your stuff, not only for blog posts, but on, videos, for example, or other mediums out there. In this case of repurposing, I'm really talking about breaking things out, taking, bits and pieces, splintering them off and making them into blog posts on their own. That way you don't need to stress yourself with having meetings all the time to come up with content ideas. You can just go from there. That will take out another step, and then you can continue to scale out your content faster, so your editors and writers can just continue to write more.
On mine, I pretty much don't have much more than that. You mentioned it all, like the editors, the process. That sped up the whole writing process for me, in which I just had to write, someone else proofreads, someone else uploads it to WordPress. I don't know why, but I like writing in Microsoft Word. I'm just addicted to it, and I've always done it. It's too hard for me to change. Someone then uploads it into WordPress. That person also adds the images, double checks the sources, makes sure that there's all the correct links in there. Then the editor goes in, corrects it, and then someone goes in again and then double checks it. Then I push it live whenever I want. Then the person who was uploading the content to WordPress and adding the images, etc., they promote it on all my social profiles for me, and then the editor reviews it one more time.
Great. So make sure you have the right process. Make sure you have it documented. Make sure you have that editorial calendar. For me, I kind of freak out if I look at the editorial calendar and there's nothing coming in the next couple of weeks. Make sure it's scheduled out a month, like Neil said, at the very least. So with that being said, that's it for this episode of Marketing School. Let us know what you think. Give us more topic ideas. We're hungry for them, and we'll see you in tomorrow's episode.
This session of Marketing School has come to a close. Be sure to subscribe for more daily marketing strategies and tactics to help you find the success you've always dreamed of. And don't forget to rate and review so we can continue to bring you the best daily content possible. We'll see you in class tomorrow, right here on Marketing School.